the Roland by Fearless Audio. A new level achieved in the Chi-Fi hobby, in my opinion. And I'll explain why I think that. Get a look at the graph in the background. You can see that the bass, this first hard bar right here is 31, and that's where there's a tiny bump. Repeatedly, I've done several graphs. There's always a teeny little bump right there. Is it accurate that low? I don't know, but I usually get roll off right there. It's actually a teeny bump, the relic of the existence of a dynamic driver, and then it goes into a very long, very stable to 1 kilohertz long porch. It's really impressive, and it sounds good bass-wise. This is really important. Everything else sounds fantastic, but I'll explain why this is so important. If I go to 55 hertz, the Moondrop Blessing, which was far cheaper but didn't sound nearly as good, if I inputted a boost at like 55 hertz around here, I would get almost no return of my input. The feedback would be almost non-existent, which made that an unacceptable set to me. And there have been several sets that have come along that have done that. They've had a dynamic driver in a hybrid configuration, and when I thought, I'm going to go ahead and use that DD, it wasn't available to me. I can go all the way up to 9, get clean and thumping and a hard hit. I don't actually need to use EQ, but someone said, can I use this like as a bass head? Can it slam? And I was thinking, I don't know. Whoever posted that, I thought, let me go check that out. I got the software to do that, do it well. Yes, bro, you can turn this into Slamalicious thing of awesomeness, actually. Let me go ahead and close that down. That was its purpose of existence right there. Take that out. So the bass is a dynamic driver, and it will give you the benefits of a dynamic, as you would expect it should do, without destroying the mids. But let's get into that, because there's things that people forget about the bass and the mids and how it crosses over. This is a set of Empire Ears Legend X. This is not the same set that was in my original video. It's got wood caps on it, and the original set was gotten rid of because I was part of a exchange in the hobby that was not up and up, and I'll explain that in a future video. And I cleansed myself by moving along from that set at the same rate that I got it for, and then went and bought my own set for over $2,000 in Japan. It's got the wood. This is maybe, I don't know, this was sold in Japan. I bought it here in Japan, this one. This has a dynamic driver. It has 2, I believe they're called W7s. I'm reviewing this set, but this set is important because this is double the price, and I love it. I genuinely love it. But this is a good example of what its weak point is, and if you're out there and you do reviews and you're being honest with yourself, you might nod your head with what I'm about to say. If you have a car audio system and you have bass drivers and you have correctly crossed over MB quartz, infinities, tweeters, and mids that are with a crossover unit in between, and you have got a perfect system. If you up that bass to a certain point, your ability to perceive the mid frequency is going to be diminished by the sheer force of the bass. Technically, the mids are there. They're coming out correctly. They exist, but your ears are being overwhelmed by the bass frequency, so you can't perceive the mids. They are there. They're being done well, but the bass is taking over everything. With the Empire Ears Legend X, it's a version of that. They are crossed over brilliantly, but the bass is very powerful, and on certain tracks, your ability to perceive the mid-frequency is diminished by the power of the bass. So while these are absolutely fantastic, I think they're expensive, but I bought these with my money because I needed them in my life forever. I'm keeping these forever. They are too much on tracks like Gold Dust Woman, The Chain, Fleetwood Mac. There's sometimes where the bass, there's several tracks on the Rumors album where the bass, when I listen, this sounds great, but it's masking the mids a little bit. The mids are there. This is crossed over correctly. This is done very well. If I lower the volume, I can get back to a good listen. If I raise it, the bass will take over without even EQ. So this is an example of like a car system. When I praised this in my review, I compared it to a car system because of its crossover network. But what a car fails to do, and this set fails to do, is when the bass is elevated, your brain becomes overwhelmed by the bass. That's not a problem for some, but if we're going to talk about technicalities, let's talk about that. Mid-frequency presentation is dependent on lots of things. Good tuning, and the bass interfering with that mid-presentation is something that's going to happen regardless of the crossover. If you elevate that bass to a certain point, your perception of the mids is going to be diminished because of your ears. Anatomy. There's no way of getting around that. The way that they tune this in its stock form, the bass and the mids are very EX1000 like. They sound very accurate. The kick drum, the four-string guitar, which is a lot of what Here Comes AC/DC, sounds fantastic. Now let me get into, I'm going to skip AC/DC because I didn't listen to that. Aerosmith, I've got three things that I'm trying to figure out. One is Steven Tyler's position. Is he up and shouty in my face? Is he a little bit back? Number two, the piano. Piano covers the entire range. Is there a sense of distance that on top of the fact that it already does sound a little bit layered back? In its best form, I can catch the minute details because of exceptional tuning or exceptional quality of driver, one or the other. So I got the piano, I got Steven Tyler, and then I've got a couple of hi-hat strikes that are of note because they go from splash or crash, like the Blind Faith track that I listen to, and that's pretty much for the same reason. Steven Tyler sounds like he's where he's supposed to be in my mind, and the reference is a home audio system where you are physically separated, and the drivers are too. Like a car audio system, but a car audio is more compact of a space. The bass doesn't tend to take over as much in a home system, unless you're going nuts with the bass. But in a regular system, I would think that a home audio system, like when you go to a headphone shop in Japan, I've got a video of that where you sit down in a chair and you've got it around you. That would be kind of maybe the reference, or a live concert, 10th row center, kind of like that. This track sounds exactly the way that I would expect it. The hi-hat sounds like a crash, not a splash. The piano sounds as clear as I've ever heard it, including with the P1 by Tin Hi-Fi. What is the point of the electrostatic pseudo EST drivers in the treble? I don't know, but it's giving me a resolution that I've not encountered before, including the Empire Ears, which is double the price. That the genius in that is crossover. The genius in this is tuning and performance of the drivers. That they did exceptional. Now here we go. Here we go, literally. Black Sabbath, all kinds of distortion and chaos going on here. This sounds like crap on a lot of stuff, and it's got a lot to do with the bass and the mids, not the treble. The bass and the mids are screwing with each other and causing problems, and you just get a sense of veil all across. Let's get another common bass line. Do you know this track by Black Sabbath? Do you know this album by Black Sabbath? Do you listen to a lot of mid-level or overhyped high-level stuff and think this isn't something that shines on IEMs? Dynamic driver is what I'm talking about right now. This is what makes this not a common test track, I think, because it's not the quality of the mix, because it's quite good. It's superior to the Led Zeppelin before the remasters, but it's the way that this... Tony Iommi, everything's distorted. It's intentional. It's supposed to be a dark... God, go look at the fucking pictures on some of the albums. These guys were trying to make you feel like you were... There weren't Satanists, devil worshippers, which are not the same thing. They're two different things totally. But they were neither, actually, this group. But they like to give off that image. And for a lot of people, when you get into IEMs from home systems or car systems, Black Sabbath seems to get pushed out a little bit. It just doesn't sound as good as it should, because you've heard it better than what you hear on IEMs. Planar doesn't give me the whole package. The Tin Hi-Fi sounded great with this. I think this sounds better because I'm getting the kick drum better. There is no roll-off in the sub-bass there. The bass is a dynamic driver, and the kick drum of this Sweetleaf track is important to the song. The whole drum play is critical to this to be played in a exceptional manner, and this gives me what the Tin Hi-Fi P1 doesn't, via the dynamic driver. And the ESTs up in the treble are keeping things clean. It's an amazing set. Mind-blowing. Going through the rest of this library, I'll do it as... These are things that sound good on a lot of stuff. This sounds awesome. I expected it would, and it did. Let's go one more from the road. I'm trying to get a sense of the people in the audience saying, "Free bird, free bird, free bird." Then Ronnie Van Zant, what songs do you want to hear? I always thought that this was Day on the Green. This is actually not where that was recorded. For years of my life, I totally misunderstood what that was. Like I mentioned in a previous song, Ronnie Van Zant was a Taskmaster, drunk, rage, like my stepdad, who I hate. Too much information. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of this group and this song, and I use this song to give the sense of space, which is an illusion done by peaks in certain areas. And because this has that dip, I thought, is that going to affect the live sense of what's going on? Are those people that sound virtually slightly to my front on the left and right going to not sound there? Is there going to be a lack of sense of space? No, zero. This is one of the sets that I can't wait for people that pay for it to get it and then to chime in, because they're worth more than me times 10. Take 10 reviewers, do this. Not the same as one well-spoken person that takes the time to share their thoughts. That's who I'm looking forward to get this. A person, a real buyer. They will set the market and whether or not these are popular. I love them. Will they love them? I believe they will. But their words are more important than reviewers. I just happen to get this before anybody else. I got 3 of them. I love this set. The Lancelot is another version of the Art Magics or the Anoles, an all BA that does everything pretty well. It's not changing or moving the game at all, in my opinion. Not, the Anole VX, the Art Magic by BGVP, those are not changing. The Empire Ears kind of changed with their exceptional crossover system. With Empire Ears Legend X, the bass overdoes it sometimes. This is 3 different types of drivers put together very, very well and playing my library of hip hop, of 70s rock, really, really well. This is that, got that grinding sound in it, this track right here. And it comes in, I don't know why Prince did that, and I don't know if a lot of people realize that, but he seemed to have an infatuation with that going on. And it comes in much better on stuff that's got really, really clear playback. I'm going to stop going through my library because I'm going to start to repeat myself and say that this song sounds excellent because I OCD'd for a couple days. Just listening to stuff in this list and others 10 to 15 times. I listened to Aerosmith No More, No More no less than 20 times. And then listened to the Empire Ears with them. And then I listened to the Art Magic. And I just kept going ABC, AB, 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 ABC, AB, AB, ABC. OCD is a crippling thing, and some people I've seen their comments and they said that guy's like on the edge of functionality, a little more and he'd be fucked up. You guys are correct, but because I grew up with music around me and I love music, I can keep myself in the boundaries of this. On other stuff I get way off track and chaos ensues, but about music, listening to this 20 times and then listening to it against the Empire Ears Legend X 10 times, bam, 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 and then listening to the Art Magic, boom, 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 and then going 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 3 1 3 1 3, back to these. That has benefit when it comes to picking out. So what does this do? This won't play. The Empire Ears, when I listened to Black Sabbath Sweet Leaf, was really not even a consideration, even with its crossover network. The veil is there. The Art Magic played it decently, but perhaps to the treble or because it's all BAs, it wasn't as clean. It didn't sound quite the same. So on the Sweet Leaf, this was head and shoulders above the rest. Listening to Tupac, which was the first track, I upped the bass on this, but when it got to 3 dB on that same scale, everything was gone. It's still technically playing the mids, but I can't catch them. Those 2 dynamic drivers are taking everything over. Again, the mids are there, technically there, but my ear's ability to take them in are diminished by the dual drivers. I love the set. I think it's awesome. If you got a lot of money, it should be in your collection. But this plays better than that set does. Tupac doesn't even need a boost, and I can do it to 9 if I want. This set, the all BAs, they're BAs. You can get the sense, but it gets to a level where it's turning into a horn and it won't do it. So everything I listen to sounds better on this set. This is by far the best thing Fearless has ever put out, and by extension, it's the finest Chi-Fi IEM I've ever put my hands on. What is this cable related to that? No, it's got nothing to do with it. I like to put cables on stuff to signify to my own brain, like, this is special. This cable costs $350. I think it was a stupid idea now that I look at this cable, which costs $60. But whatever. So I take a $2,200 set that I paid for in Japan and turn it into $2,500. I bought this secondhand, but still under earphone warranty. So I kept dumping money into them because I love them. So if some people say I like bass, but I want it when it's supposed to be there, this would be a set I'd say proceed with caution or read more reviews, because it will maybe make you feel like the mids are not there, though they are, because the crossover does work. The mids are going to be there. The dynamic driver does its work. That graph right there with it's peaking at 31 is like something that I would do in car audio. A very early 55 hertz at the latest is something that I want it coming down after 55. I want to peak at 55 at the latest, no later than that, and then dropping. And there's no negotiation. I don't want something that's bloating out at 70 and then disappearing right at the edge of the fundamental of bass. Unacceptable. Doesn't work. This set's awesome. That's 16 minutes of your life. Do I recommend it? I do. If you want more information, wait. Some people have bought it and they're going to go ahead and chime in and give their impressions. I enthusiastically wreck it and think it's the finest Chi-Fi IEM that I've ever tried, and I think it's better than stuff that comes from other countries. Chi-Fi, it's becoming a weird thing. It's as good as this Atlanta, Georgia set, and better actually. So, and double the price. And I paid for this set. So if I got this for free, and this free one's better than this free one. Because you're hyping it. Wait a second, I paid my stone cold hard money for this item, and there's a story behind that I'll share with you guys. But this costs pretty close to regular price for me. And it's not as good as this set. Which would you buy? This set. Do you like your mids? I do. And I'm out. Selling cocaine, the ripping shows live on stage for hoes yelling my name. To be precise, ripping mics